Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. When you go into the courtroom, you can't go in there. Well, this is my perspective. When I go in and then when I watch other people who have failed over and over in court, when I go into court, I want to paint a picture for the judge because these judges, these lawyers have all been a part of this system that thinks a certain way. They think, okay, give mom custody, dad every other weekend, make sure child support is paid for. And they do stuff out of routine, just like anybody else does, out of peer pressure or societal norms. You know, when we went through COVID, we just threw out all the societal norms and we just flipped everything. There's so much stuff that's done at home or online nowadays. Why didn't we do that before? Because when nobody really allowed it. Once the government forced us to shut down and find alternatives, and they created alternatives, all of a sudden the courts don't need people to show up in court. You know, before, when the internet was just starting to get big, they still required people to file court papers. And if you signed a document in blue ink, then you made photocopies, you had to have the blue ink version with the court. You had to have the original filed in the court with the court clerk. You couldn't file a copy, or else they might reject it. Now, for the convenience of the court, since they want to be paperless and the internet is big and everybody has a computer, they allow you to scan and file a copy of the original signature. Now you can even use a digital signature, which is, you sign it once and it's not really you signing it with your own hand. So they totally changed the norms for convenience. Why did they have a rule saying you can't scan and e-file stuff before? Why didn't they have that? It's all about convenience. So societal norms can change based upon what's going on. Like, we totally changed the way we look at government, society, and a whole bunch of other things. And we saw a whole bunch of corruption come out and a lot of things get exposed. And so some of us will never look at the media, big pharma, the system, government, Dr. Fauci and other people the same way anymore. And, things normal, I remember when I would walk into a store with a mask, I used a bandana, like a headscarf, one of those paisley scarves. I would wear a scarf over my mouth because nobody questioned it and it was way more breathable than other masks. And when it was winter or when it was cold, I would have, I'd have a knit hat and then I'd have a scarf around my face. So before COVID, if I would have walked into the store looking like that, they would think they were about to get robbed. But that became the new norm. So something that was criminal a few months ago or made me look like a criminal is normal. I could just, go anywhere and do something like that. So my point is, there's norms in society that everybody will accept no matter how weird, abnormal they are, and they can flip them and change them to a different norm if there's enough peer pressure. So the court system, you walk into a court system, it's like the Twilight Zone, okay? They're brainwashed to think a certain way. Lawyers work at a law firm. Lawyers aren't really trained in law school to be a lawyer. They read about the history of law, legal theories and stuff like that, but they're not really trained. Every lawyer I talked to said they didn't really learn how to lawyer until they got into a law firm and they told them this is how you prepare for the hearing, or they were drop kicked and they did a trial by fire type of scenario. All that being said, they do stuff the way they do it, not because they pay attention to the law or not because they care about the rules. They do it the way that they do it. In the NBA, NBA players can take 2 or 3 steps and travel. That's against the rules, but it's become a cultural norm in the NBA and nobody cares. And it's gotten really crazy now. So when you're going into the courtroom and they have a cultural norm, when you go in there and say, Your Honor, you should do what's in the best interest of the child, and 50-50 is the best interest, and parents should share the kids. And if you go in and talk all saying the stuff they hear other people say, they're going to ignore you like everybody else they've ignored. So I'm convinced that you're not going to get anything out of court or You're not going to get the attention of the court unless you paint a picture. You need to talk to these people like they're in second grade, because some of these people are dumbed down, moronic, airheaded sheep who follow societal norms. So when you walk in there and you say stuff like the best interest of the child, you have to paint a picture, especially if you're talking with vague things like a phrase like the best interest of the child. I will go in there and say, Your Honor, every child outside, and like I have a video on YouTube, the number one argument for 50-50. It's the same argument for custody if the other parent's bad. I paint a picture. Your Honor, children need both parents. Outside, you can, and you pin them down and you make them start picturing stuff. When somebody gives a speech or a lecture or whatever, they try and engage the audience so they pay attention more and remember it more. Or a professor will ask questions of their students to make them think and remember the subject matter, or else they'll just fall asleep through it. You have to treat it like that. Say, Your Honor, you cannot name one thing that's more important than the parent-child relationship and the security, stability, and love of each parent. There's food, water, and air, and there's the love of the parents. This mother is saying she's going to move to Texas with the children. Why? What's there that's more important than me? There's nothing there that's more important than me. And if she jumps in and says, oh, look, he thinks fathers are more important than mothers. I didn't say that I'm more important than the mother. She said the child needs a mother more, but I'm not bigoted toward her or sexist toward her or anything like that. I said there's nothing more important than me. She's equally important. So obviously she didn't listen to what I'm saying, and she likes twisting my words. There's nothing more important than a relationship between a parent and a child. She's going to Texas for what? What's more important down there? Her boyfriend's new job? Her family is down there? The grandparents and the uncles? Where in the law does it say they're more important than me? All the science and all the data says children suffer when a father's not in the home. Look at our entire society crying out for fathers to step up to the plate. Here I am, available for the child. And what does the mother say? Psychologists, pastors, politicians all say, hey, dad, step to the plate. Be involved in your kid's life. I just saw a video on Facebook where there's this guy with shoulder pads and he runs and tackles deadbeat dads. He's a total sellout little punk because he's just believing women that these dads are deadbeats when they likely were pushed out and they got over the top child support. So we have people out there fighting and saying, men, step up to the plate. Who's the only, there's only one person in the entire world that doesn't want this child to have a father. It's that lady over there. See me painting a picture instead of, well, Your Honor, the best interest of the child, and, it's just not right, and I'm nice, and I'm a nice guy, and I love my kids, and please, Your Honor, I love my kids. That stuff's going to put them to sleep. You can go in there and say, look, and there's this thing called reasonable person. There's an invisible person in the court at all times, reasonable person. No reasonable parent or person would want to take a child away from a father. Any reasonable parent would say, hey, fathers, step up to the plate. Oh, my God, the father wants to be involved and wants to be around this kid. I don't want to deprive the kid of a father. I would say stuff like, Your Honor, the number one most quality or basic fundamental quality of a parent is unselfishness. When you have a baby, you have to wake up in the middle of the night. You have to clean up, throw up. You have to do nasty, dirty things. You got to go to the doctor in the middle of the night. You have to take the kids to practice, to piano lessons. You don't get to go and do selfish things. She chose to have a child with me. That child needs the parents more than anything in life outside of food, water, and air. And what does she say now? You're a great candidate to create a child with. I'm going to take the child away from you and move to Texas. Why? Because my boyfriend has a better job there. And most people never argue this. Let's look at a ratio or the greater than sign, like you used with the alligator when we were in elementary school, the greater than sign. Is her boyfriend, fiance, husband's job more important than love? Who sits at their deathbed and says, man, I wish I would have spent more time with my stepdad or away from my dad? We regret relationships that we missed out on. What is more important down there? Her pursuits of a romantic relationship? She's selfish. She has to make some kind of self-sacrifice. I created this child. This child needs both parents. I got to let my life revolve around the child. If she doesn't want to do that, go ahead and take off. You don't care about the child. You have to paint pictures like these in court for them to get you.